It's your birthday, so we wish all the very best to you. The days of sunshine with a wonderful time, and that your dreams may come true. Harmony, love and peace, they may guide you on your way. So we wish you a happy birthday. It's your birthday, so we wish all the very best to you. The days of sunshine with a wonderful time, and that your dreams may come true. Harmony, love and peace, they may guide you on your way. So we wish you a happy birthday.
Growing up in southern Alberta, I've had family that have left the church. And as that's happened over the years, I realized that I had to get my intellectual ducks in a row, which brought me to Interpreter. And it was at a fair conference back in, I believe it was 2016 or so, that Dan Peterson gave a talk on the Bayesian arguments in behalf of the Book of Mormon and the Restoration. He thought it was much more likely that the Book of Mormon was authentic and that that his story was authentic than the idea that Joseph Smith could have fabricated the Book of Mormon from full cloth. I thought that's a really interesting argument. So I went through and I just piece by piece, topic by topic, going through all the evidence both for and against the Book of Mormon and looking at it from a probabilistic standpoint. And I found that it was turning out to be in favor of the Book of Mormon. And I thought that would be interesting to Dan, and so I interacted with him and on his blog and in the comment section and sent him an email and said, "Hey, I'm doing this interesting thing." And he said, "Hey, well, maybe would you consider using Interpreter as a venue for this sort of thing?" And I said, "Why, I would be honored." And so that got me involved in Interpreter and working with Dan Peterson and the other fine vice presidents of Interpreter, and over the course of a year publishing that essay series was one of the highlights of my academic life is seeing people react to that, see the value in it the same way that I had seen the value in those sorts of analyses, and knowing that I had done a bit of good. My mom is a Cuban refugee. She was born in Cuba. Her and her family escaped when she was 11 years old from Cuba just as Castro was coming into power, and they came to the States. And I think about my grandpa, who never joined the church. My mom joined the church in New York when she was in high school, and then the missionaries told her she should go to BYU, and so she did. But my grandpa throughout that time remained very patient with the church, always looked at, was curious about it, had read the Book of Mormon, had read the Institute manuals and the other manuals attached to it, but never really joined and was never really hostile toward the church at the same time. But he had a real intellectual bent to him. He really knew to ask the right questions. But I can only imagine what the interpreter and the ideas in there might have sparked his imagination, sparked his interest as to what was possible. And if that had been available in Spanish, that might have connected with him on a much deeper level. But to access the ideas surrounding the Book of Mormon in his own language would have been really meaningful to him. I really take interpreter to be a bit of an antidote to what the rest of the world currently has to offer in terms of intellectual discussion. Twitter is death to a good idea, that it takes a really rich and nuance-filled subject and compresses it into 280 characters. And you just cannot get the truth when all you're looking at is through the lens of a tweet or a Facebook post or even a blog post. That's the value of interpreter, is it takes these ideas and it puts them in writing, makes them as accessible as possible, which is the true practice of research in academia, is making thoughts clear, making evidence searchable, making arguments as transparent as possible. That is, in a way, being vulnerable. It kind of sheds away any protective layers, because if I'm wrong, then everyone can see how I'm wrong. But that's how we arrive at the truth, is making our errors available for others to see and rip apart. And so interpreter gives us, I think, what people are hungering for, which is actual arguments that are accessible and that are understood, and that can take the truths that we know from the gospel and put them alongside the evidence that we see in the real world, alongside what we see from Scripture, and explain them in ways that help to elucidate their truth. And I'm grateful for the 10 years that Interpreter has given to providing that effort, and I can only imagine the good work that will be done in the future in taking the truths of the gospel and combining them with the truths that we see all around us to give us greater light and knowledge than we've had in the past.
Drop the breath down and breathe it out, okay? And you get fat while you're doing it. Let your soul delight in fatness down there, okay? Tenors ready, go.
I can't imagine what Bob would have been like without music. From the time Bob was in high school, he was in love with music and was spending every penny he could raise for records. Bob has been in love with music for most of his life.
I compose because it is my natural form of speech.
So these men not only said they saw the plates, lifted them, they would die for that testimony if they had to. My testimony of the Book of Mormon is strong. It has been built stronger when I realize what these men gave for their testimonies. They were not playing with words and a polite audience. They were playing with enemies when they bore that testimony, and they knew it.
They pulled up in front of the Whitney store, and Joseph bounded out of the horse-drawn sled, came in through the doors here of the Whitney store. Noel K. Whitney was behind the counter. And Joseph extended his hand to him, and he said, "Noel K. Whitney, thou art the man." Noel K. Whitney, realizing that Joseph had recognized him, said, "You know me, but I don't know you." And he said, "I'm Joseph the prophet. You prayed me here. Now what do you want of me?"
David Whitmer says, a parchment appears. And we see this in the Doctrine and Covenants. A parchment appears. And on the parchment at the top is the string of characters coming from the plates. And underneath is the translation. And it's being given to him. It's being given. He's seen these things. All the witnesses talk about other things which are consistent with this, that he's going to read this aloud, he's going to do 25 to 35 words at a time. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, this is too easy. Oh, really? Really? This is what we mean when we say you're a prophet, seer, and revelator. Seer means you can do this.
As we explore what some believe to be an unsolved mystery, we are helped by the fact that there were 11 men and a handful of others who also claimed that they saw the ancient record.
People simply understood Joseph Smith as an imposter, pretending to have had this miraculous visit of an angel and golden plates.
Joseph doesn't just claim he has a vision, Joseph knows he has a vision.
If we think that there's a God, right, who intervenes in human lives, then all kinds of things become much more plausible than they were before.
Eyewitness testimony is always subject to scrutiny and is not ever perfectly trustworthy, but it's all we have.
It seems like the less people have, the more you have to turn to God, because what other choice do you have? Yeah, what other choice do you have? And I think, in a sense, it can be a little bit of training. You know, we learn, okay, you have nothing, you turn to God. Yeah. So that hopefully when you're blessed with more, you still remember to turn to God.
Yeah, it's the great problem of mortality, right? Is that, you know, the kingdom that Jesus is preaching about is not of this world. By the time the saints get to Salt Lake, there's just not a whole lot of casual Mormons. Casual Mormon was, 6 burned down houses in 2,000 miles ago. I mean, if you believed to the point where you gave up everything and you left the country and you went to Mexico and you settled in the middle of this, wilderness with, hey, there's a body of water. Oh, wait, it's salt. I mean, if you believed to that point, then you understand why they were willing to make some of the sacrifices, because their earlier trials had prepared them for that.
We welcome you, Oliver Cowdery. It has been far too long. Please, come with me. Oliver Cowdery, the church's second elder, will address us.
I never thought I'd have the opportunity to address the body of the saints again. I will not waste it. I'm not here to seek power, nor to interfere with the business or callings of those men who've borne the burden since the death of Joseph. My request is to be a mere member of Christ's church. I throw myself at your feet and I ask to be one of your number. I wish only to be aligned again with Brother Joseph and with God.
Creatures of our God and King, lift up your voice and with us sing. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
On June 15th, 2021, two brothers, both returned missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, set out on a mission of discovery into a remote part of the DR Congo. Their hope was to find a group of believers who had been waiting for baptism for nearly 50 years. No one knew what they would find, or if they would find anything at all. Yet, with little more than a prayer in their hearts, they set out on a 1,200-kilometer journey to find those lost saints. The journey began in 1975 when another young man thirsted for truth and turned to God in prayer. He found his answer in a dream that wouldn't let him rest, a dream that revealed to him the name of a church. This is the story of a faithful people who embraced the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints nearly 50 years ago, with the hope that someday they would be given priesthood authority to worship, to heal, and to one day enter a temple they had never seen.
I need to be baptized also to have a church here in this area. I'll be very happy. Like for me, I received this church from the hands of my parents. I have like 12 children. Okay, bon so you kalaba bendam kipi loki. All of them they are member of the Church of Jesus Christ, but not yet be baptized.